Ankita Robin and welcome to ST Global News. From the revival of an age-old tradition by Pope Leo XIV after a 13-year break to a popular American news anchor's entry into the Catholic Church, we have many stories to cover. Reviving a tradition set aside by Pope Francis, Pope Leo XIV will spend his summer holidays at the papal residence in Castel, Gandolfo. The Holy Father plans to stay for half of July and return for a weekend in August. During his time there, he will celebrate Sunday Mass in local churches and lead the Angelus prayer with pilgrims in Liberty Square. All private audiences will be suspended during this period, with weekly general audiences set to resume on July 30th.
Pope Leo XIV will continue the tradition of staying at the papal residence of Castel Gandolfo during the summer holidays. The Holy Father will spend half of July and a weekend in August in Castel Gandolfo and will celebrate Sunday Mass in local churches and praying the Angelus with pilgrims in the town's Liberty Square. The prefecture of the papal household announced on Tuesday, June 17, that the Holy Father will make 2 visits to the hilltop town near Rome. He will reside at the papal residence for half of July and return on August 15 to celebrate the Feast of the Assumption. According to the statement, the pontiff's schedule for July and August are as follows. The Holy Father will travel to the pontifical villas of Castel Gandolfo on the afternoon of Sunday, July 6 for a period of rest. On Sunday, July 13th at 10 a.m., Pope Leo XIV will celebrate Mass at the pontifical parish of St. Thomas of Villanova in Castel Gandolfo. At 12 p.m., he will lead the Angelus prayer in Liberty Square in front of the Apostolic Palace. The following Sunday, July 20th at 9:30 a.m., the Pope will celebrate Mass at the Cathedral of Albano. At noon, he will again recite the Angelus prayer in Liberty Square, Castel Gandolfo. Later that afternoon, the Holy Father will return to the Vatican, where he will remain until mid-August. The Jubilee of Youth will take place from July 28th to August 3rd. During July, all private audiences are suspended, along with Wednesday general audiences on July 2nd, 9th, 16th and 23rd. Weekly audiences will resume only on July 30th. On Friday, August 15th at 10 a.m., the Holy Father will celebrate Mass at the Pontifical Parish in Castel Gandolfo and lead the Angelus at noon in Liberty Square. He'll once again lead the Angelus at noon on Sunday, August 17th before returning to Vatican later that afternoon. For centuries, dozens of popes have spent the summer months at Lake Albano, where the temperatures are typically around 10 degrees cooler than in Rome. However, Pope Francis has opted to remain in his residence at the Vatican and had the official papal palace converted into a museum. Vatican spokesperson Matteo Bruni told Reuters that Pope Leo will not reside in the palace, which will continue to operate as a museum, but will instead stay at a different Vatican-owned property. The Vatican has owned the papal palace and its surrounding grounds in Castel Gandolfo since 1596, covering 55 hectares. The estate features official papal apartments, ornate Renaissance-style gardens, a wooded area, and a functioning dairy farm.
The aerial war between Israel and Iran has entered its 6th day, marking a sharp escalation in regional tensions. Iran is facing what many are calling its most severe security breach since the 1979 Islamic Revolution. US President Donald Trump issued a warning on Truth Social, stating that American patience is running out and demanding Tehran's unconditional surrender.
With Israel and Iran launching new airstrikes against each other, the aerial war between the two nations enters its 6th day. The Israeli military reported that 2 barrages of Iranian missiles were launched toward Israel in the early hours of Wednesday, June 18th. However, Iranian news websites claimed that Israel was attacking a university linked to Iran's Revolutionary Guards in the eastern part of the capital. The US Office of the Director of National Intelligence states that Iran possesses the largest number of ballistic missiles in the Middle East. US President Donald Trump warned Iran on Truth Social media that US patience is wearing thin and called for Tehran's unconditional surrender. The post read, quote, "We know exactly where the so-called supreme leader is hiding," he wrote on Truth Social. "We are not going to take him out, at least for now. Our patience is wearing thin," end quote. According to sources, the US is sending additional fighter aircraft to the Middle East and is extending the deployment of other the warplanes. So far, the US has taken only indirect measures in the ongoing conflict with Iran, such as assisting in intercepting missiles launched toward Israel. Iran is experiencing its most dangerous security breach since the Islamic Revolution in 1979. Fars news agency reported that the country's cybersecurity command has banned officials from using communication devices and mobile phones. On June 13th, Israel launched an air campaign against Iran, claiming that the country was on the verge of developing nuclear weapons. Meanwhile, Iran asserts its right to nuclear technology for peaceful purposes. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has emphasized that he will not relent until Iran's nuclear program is dismantled, while Trump suggests that Israeli offenses could end if Iran agrees to stringent limits on uranium enrichment. Israel claims to have gained control over Iran's airspace and plans to intensify its campaign in the coming days. Iranian officials report 224 deaths, mostly civilians, whereas Israel has confirmed 24 civilian casualties. Residents in both countries have either been evacuated or fled the affected areas.
On the eve of the solemnity of the Most Holy Trinity, the Church of Jerusalem celebrated the ordination of 3 young men to the priesthood. John Oscar Nunez from the Philippines, Giacomo Pagliaricia from Italy, and Lucas Solbach from France were ordained by Cardinal Pier Battista Pizzaballa at the Domus Galilei International Center in Galilee. Their ordination takes place amid growing instability in the Middle East, marked by ongoing military airstrikes between Israel and Iran.
On Saturday, June 14th, on the eve of the solemnity of the Most Holy Trinity, 3 young men were ordained to the priesthood in the Church of Jerusalem amid rising tensions in the Middle East. John Oscar Nunez from the Philippines, Giacomo Pagliaricia from Italy, and Lucas Solbach from France were ordained priests through the laying on of hands and the consecratory prayer of His Beatitude, Cardinal Pier Battista Pizzaballa, Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem. Monsignor Rafiq Nahra, Patriarchal Vicar of Galilee, Monsignor William Shamali, General Vicar, and the Emeritus Bishops Jacinto Paulus Marcuso and Ilario Antoniazzi celebrated the Mass. The newly ordained priests received their formation at the Redemptoris Mater Missionary Seminary of Galilee, which provides priestly formation for young men and adults committed to the new evangelization in the Middle East and around the world. The ordination ceremony took place at the Domus Galilei International Center overlooking the Sea of Galilee. It was attended by members of the neo-catechumenal communities, parishioners from churches where the ordinance had served as deacons, and their families. The families of the newly ordained were able to arrive in the country just before the airspace in the region was closed due to the ongoing conflict between Israel and Iran. During his homily, Cardinal Pizzaballa reflected on the profound meaning of Christian witness, emphasizing that it goes beyond merely setting a good example and includes the offering of one's own life. He noted that the word witness is regaining its original significance in today's world, especially in the Middle East, a region marked by complexity and uncertainty. Reminding the ordinance that their ministry is a continuation of Christ's own, he said, quote, "You're called to be His face, His hands, His feet, and His heart in the life of the Church," end quote.
The United States Conference of Catholic Bishops has asked all men of goodwill to pray ardently for the end of hostilities as tensions between Israel and Iran rise. Bishop A. Elias Zayden, chairman of the Committee on International Justice and Peace and Eparch of Our Lady of Lebanon of Los Angeles, exhorted international leaders to exert their influence to de-escalate the situation.
Amid the ongoing conflict between Israel and Iran, the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops has called upon Catholics and all men and women of goodwill in the United States and around the world to ardently pray for an end to hostilities. In a statement released on June 16th, Bishop A. Elias Zayden, the chairman of the Committee on International Justice and Peace, urged the United States and the broader international community to exert every effort to renew a multilateral diplomatic engagement for the attainment of a durable peace between Israel and Iran. Bishop Zayden exhorted the U.S. government to continue exerting its influence in favor of restraint and dialogue. He noted that the further proliferation of nuclear weapons in the Middle East, as well as the escalation of violence, imperil the fragile stability remaining in the region. Bishop Zayden also quoted Pope Leo XIV's words that it was the duty of all countries to support the cause of peace by initiating paths of reconciliation. Bishop Elias Zayden concluded his statement by joining himself to the prayer of Cardinal Dominic Joseph Matthew, Archbishop of Tehran, Isfahan of the Latins. For Peace. Bureau Report, Shekinah Global.
Organized by Caris India, the national governing body for Catholic charismatic renewal services in the country, the 4th National March for Life in India is scheduled for August 9th at St. Francis Xavier's Cathedral, Bangalore. The event will begin with a live exhibition followed by a Holy Mass at 9:30 a.m. and a public gathering. This year's featured speakers include Archbishop Peter Machado of Bangalore and Archbishop Francis Callist of the Archdiocese of Pondicherry, Cuddalore.
India's 4th National March for Life will be held on 9th August in Bangalore. Caris India, the national governing body of Catholic Charismatic Renewal Services in India, organizes the annual march, which started in 2022. The March for Life usually falls on or around 10th August, marking the anniversary of India's Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act, which legalized abortion in 1971. It is estimated that more than 15 million abortions are carried out every year in India, and sex-selective abortions are still prevalent. Even with the large number of lives being entered, there is an unjustified cultural silence in the country. St. Francis Xavier's Cathedral in Bangalore is the venue for the day's events, which begins with a live exhibition followed by a Holy Mass at 9:30 a.m. and a public gathering. The march will be flagged off at 12 p.m. A live conference will also be held for participants after the march. This year's main speakers include the Archbishop of Bangalore, Peter Machado, and Archbishop Francis Callist of Pondicherry, Cuddalore Archdiocese. Last year's March for Life was held in Kerala, South India, and attended by hundreds of pro-lifers. Registration for the March for Life can be done through the Catholic Connect app.
Fox 9's beloved anchor Jason Martinez recently made headlines for something far more personal than his award-winning journalism. In a heartfelt celebration of faith, he received the sacrament of confirmation, had his sons baptized, and had his marriage convalidated in a ceremony at the church.
Philadelphia's popular Fox 29 news anchor Jason Martinez made a meaningful and public act of faith by receiving the sacrament of confirmation in the Catholic Church while also having his sons baptized on the same day. Additionally, Jason and his wife Lisette had their marriage sacramentally blessed at the altar, which was a unique way of confirming their faith based on their spiritual renewal and togetherness. Jason also shared his views on his official social media channel that it was a big day for the family as they received the holy sacraments that had been waiting for a long time. The couple have 5 children, including a daughter, and having their sons receive sacraments together was the parents' wish to raise them in a faith-filled environment, they stated. Jason Martinez had been prominent in broadcast journalism for almost 2 decades, with Emmy Awards and reporting work all across the country. But what has genuinely got people's attention isn't his awards or his career. It's his and his family's step of faith that he recently took. That one choice has touched the hearts of ordinary people and fellow Catholics alike. It's a reminder that sometimes the most powerful things we do aren't the ones that make the news. The multi-sacrament celebration, known in church circles as convalidation since it included a marital blessing, was held by the long heritage of Catholic teaching that regards sacramental grace as the cornerstone of family life. In a world that often feels rushed and disconnected, Martinez's journey stands out. It's a reminder that faith doesn't need to shout to be heard, that grace can be found in the quiet, sincere steps we take, and that in the fast-moving lives of today's professionals, there is still room, beautiful, meaningful room for family, faith, and something greater than ourselves. Known for his work on screen, Jason is now touching hearts off screen through his faith, his family, and his recent church wedding. Bureau Report, Shekinah Global.
That's all for today. Until we meet again, God bless and thank you.